Happy Tuesday, guys. I'm sorry in advance, but I am absolutely bricked the fuck up right now. And you know why? Because today, we're talking about financial literacy. Not everything to do with finance, because we would be here for a couple semesters of your time. But I did have a younger friend ask me a couple questions. And it was eye-opening, because to me, everything is just, I've been there, done that. I kind of understand it. I know what the terms mean and what I should do. But I completely forgot, what would it be like if I didn't have the same upbringing that I had? I had a mom that owned her own company, and she was a financial genius. She understood that. She handed me The Richest Man in Babylon when I was in middle school. She handed me Think and Grow Rich in middle school. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Middle school. So I already knew these things before high school. And so I didn't notice when I was in high school that they don't fucking teach it to you. And I am so sorry to all the young kids out there that have no idea what they're doing with finances. It's insane. If you want to take out a loan to go start a business, like my buddy Brandon, if you wanted to take out a $100,000 loan to really pump his business, and that would fucking pump it, baby. It would take it to the next level. They wouldn't give it to him. But if you want $100,000 to go get in debt, to go get a degree, absolutely, baby, sign right here. Bottom line. So I want to just briefly kind of cover some of the different financial institutional ways you can invest, where you can put some of the money, maybe while you're young, what type of job you should go after to get that money, and then the things you should try and learn from your early jobs, because they aren't careers unless you go really far with the one I'm going to talk about, which I genuinely believe for a kid that is between the ages of like 14 and 22, like that the high school to college age where you're not working off at some corporation yet, this is the best job you can get. And I'm going to get into the reasons why. But firstly, I want to start off with what are some of the places you can put some money. So you have an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. And there's a traditional version of this. And there's a Roth version of this. And then there's 401ks. And then there's a traditional version. And there's a Roth version. So what's the difference between an IRA and a 401k and a traditional Roth? Blah, 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 blah. All right, let's get started. Regular IRA, a traditional IRA. This is money that you put into an account. It's capped at around $6,500. Now, this changes every other year, and there's a catch-up policy in there for after 55. So you get an extra like $1,000, maybe $1,500. I'll have to check the tax laws on that one. But this is money that is pre-tax money. So if you make a bunch throughout the year and you're going to have a horrific tax bill because your taxable income is high, you can put money from your taxable income, right? This is money that's in your wallet, but you still have to give some to the government, right? You still have to pay them taxes. You can reduce how much you have to give them by putting money into a traditional IRA. A traditional reduces your current year tax liability. However, when you retire and you pull money out, now you have to pay tax on this money. Think of a traditional as money that you have earned that you are not going to receive right now, but you're putting it into an account. So therefore you get to defer taxes, right? So that's nice. That's a good thing. You get to defer a little bit of taxes and save it for later. We'll get into which way I would go in a little bit. So that's just a regular traditional IRA. Now let's talk about a traditional 401k. Traditional. Same thing. This is going to be pre-tax money. It's going to defer the taxes. However, being within a 401k, I believe the max for this now is $22,500. So $22,500 that you can put into this per year. And seeing as this is through a company, a 401k is a retirement program that you get through a company. So usually there will be some type of match. Okay? So if you put in 5%, they'll put in 5%. Or whatever the match is. I'm not going to do the math here because it gets a little questionable because it's based off of what your total income is, and then you decide. So if you make $100,000, you put in 5%, you put in $5,000. But if you made $50,000 and put in 5%, that's $2,500. So the match by the company changes based off your total income. That is your salaried wage. Okay. So that's a traditional. And this as well, you have to keep in there until the retirement age. Lest you pull it out early, and then you probably have some extra penalties, probably a 10%. That's typically what they do. Now let's talk about my absolute favorite thing. This is why I said I was bricked up, because I can't talk about Roths and not froth at the fucking mouth. This thing is the cheat code, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a young guy and you watch this, remember what I'm about to say about a Roth. Because this is the best tool you can use to accumulate wealth over a long period of time. And I'll tell you why. This is the exact opposite of a traditional IRA. Instead of deferring the taxes, you pay the taxes now. Why would you do that, right? That sucks. Wait, you're saying I have to give them $6,500 and I don't get any access to that money until I'm really old and wrinkled? And then I also have to pay tax on it? That sounds terrible. Why would I do that? Well, guys, I don't know if you've been paying attention to this thing called history and the directional trend we're going in. But when this country started, and I'm not going to get into whether this is the true story or not, we rebelled. We had a Boston Tea Party, and essentially, we didn't like taxes, right? It was 3% or whatever it is on the tea. We were like, we're not going to fucking pay that anymore, right? So we don't like taxes. However, throughout history, it's been shown that as our society's grown and we've pushed forward and we've gotten more progressive, which is out of our control, I believe that humanity is going to get more progressive, and eventually, hopefully, we won't need currency. But while it's getting more progressive and there's more of these pushes and more humanitarian aids and things and social programs, ever since World War II, the New Deal, we've had a lot of these social programs. Taxes go up over time. So the beautiful thing is, if you are, let's say, an umpire, which I'm going to get into, and you're young, you're not making very much money. I mean, when I first started, until you get patched, I was making $15 a game, right? Imagine how many games you have to work to make even, let's say, $15,000. That's a lot of baseball. That is, oh my God, that is a lot of baseball. Oh, that hurts my brain even thinking about it. That is a lot to watch, okay? And you don't get paid that much. The beautiful thing about not getting paid that much is you still have the full amount that you could max out that Roth account with. However, your regular tax rate is very fucking low. Whereas in the future, because you're a successful entrepreneur, you're a business mogul, didn't you know? You're a celebrity. You're going to be making a lot more money when you're older. There's going to be more streams of income. Don't think of making money as just one source. It's going to come from all these different sources. You have the investment side. You have assets. I mean, you could have rental real estate. You could go into other business ventures and be a partner in other places and receive income or whatever from there. There's so many things you can do, guys. And when you're young, you don't think about it. So you're like, oh, I don't want to pay tax now. No. Trust me. Pay the tax now, because here's the beautiful thing. Now, instead of deferring the taxes, you completely remove future taxes. This isn't just from the principal amount. And when I say principal, I mean that $6,500 or whatever the max is, or if you can't put in the max, whatever you put in. You don't have to pay tax on that bit anymore, and then any gains on it. Any gains on it. So that means if you put, say, $5,000 in it at 18, and it gains 8% every single year until you retire, whatever that ends up to be with compound interest is yours and only yours, and you don't have to pay a single cent of tax on it. And I guarantee the gains are going to be astronomically larger than the tax that you paid back when you were 18. All right, thank me later. So, other than that, when you're young, something else you can do is a money market account. You can do this through a financial manager. However, when you're very young and you don't have very much money to do anything with, I would generally stay away from doing things like a money market account, because then there's tax implications, there's short-term, long-term investing. It's so much better to just get some money into a retirement account when you're young, and then when you start getting some actual cash flow coming, then you can start playing around talking to a financial manager. Okay, and at some point, I'll get into some fun things you can do, maybe with a Schedule C, and having a financial manager involved, and how you can really maximize some of the finances. However, for now, all I want to do is just recommend some books, tell you a job, and tell you which one is the God tier, which is the Roth IRA. If you're a young kid and you have a job, please, please, please try and put a little bit of money in it. I understand that you do not have very much money at that age. I was at that age. I've maxed out my Roth every year since I was 14. Because I knew what it's going to do for me. It basically unlocks an entire different echelon of wealth for you. And it's free. So I understand it's hard. I get that it sucks. You'd rather go buy some things or hang out with your friends, and you probably don't want to do what I did and sacrifice your weekends for pretty much your entire summer, every summer, because you're umpiring baseball. Which leads me to the next point. Umpiring baseball is the most OP young person profession, and I will tell you why. Here is the list of things that are benefits. Free food. If you show up to a tournament and they give you tickets, right, per game, that's usually how I would get paid. They give you these little tickets, and you get one per game that you umpire. However, when you do a tournament, usually the presence of these tickets, having a ticket, you could show the concession stand, you get free food. Okay, so now you don't have to worry about eating while you're working. Do you have to worry about exercise while you're umping baseball? Well, not particularly. You're kind of in a squat half the time. Otherwise, you're in the sun the entire time. You're constantly moving, constantly talking, constantly doing things. So if you're worried about not being active or a desk job, this is great for you. You're going to be outside. Now, probably, other than the money, which I'll get into, I think the leadership aspect of umpiring is the best thing possible for a young kid. And I'll give you my reasoning for this from my experience. I don't think I've ever felt as anxious as when I was probably around 16, 17. You have to be 16 to get patched. Patching allows you to do like high school level games, college level games, and sometimes when you get assigned games, they don't check your age. So I remember there was a point where I was 17 and I was doing a high school travel game. Now these were not actual like high school teams because I couldn't do those. However, there's travel baseball leagues outside of high school. I mean, baseball's baseball. It's everywhere. So how do you deal with that? I'm younger than all the players on the field. I'm younger than the coaches. And somehow I need to be confident enough to express the rules, my feelings, and what I'm thinking about the game state at all times to all parties, and make sure and ensure that there aren't any fights, there aren't any problems. And in order for that to happen, I need respect. I need respect. But you only get respect when you're confident. And confidence comes from mastery. And mastery comes from working at the same craft over and over and over until you succeed. That's mastery. Everyone starts off as a laborer or an apprentice or whatever you want to call it. And you get to a journeyman and then an expert, and then you're a master eventually. And then even once you're a master, there's different mastery levels to being a master. Right? There are a lot of black belts in karate, but I guarantee you there's one person on this planet that would whoop everyone's ass. Right? That's the master above all the other masters. But that's how you gain confidence and you garner respect, is by gaining mastery. So umpiring, I think, is wonderful for that when you're young. And besides, guys, once you get patched, I don't know where you live, what state it is. I don't even fucking know what country. I could be talking to somebody about baseball and they're like, hey, cricket? I'm like, yeah, dude, go do cricket. I don't understand how to play cricket, but it looks sick. It's kind of baseball. It's like baseball golf in a way. I don't know, dude, but the way they catch the ball with one hand, it's absolutely riveting to watch. That, or I'd love to umpire, I don't think it's umpiring, referee rugby. I've actually never been to a live rugby game, but I did play a while in college. It was like a nice little side thing we did for fun. All right, so that covers the work portion. Now, going back sort of to the 401ks and the company matches and the Roths, this is going to sort of segue into the college and then like the post period, like the kids right after. What I would recommend, and of course this is not financial investment advice, okay? Use your discernment. I honestly want just the best for you, so take it with a grain of salt. Always take care of that Roth IRA first. Max that bad boy first. Unless you have the God tier. And this is the Roth 401k. If you get a Roth 401k, max it out. I don't even care. I don't care. You need to figure out a way to put as much money into that thing as possible. And especially, at the minimum, get a company match. Because I'm telling you, I have seen some fuckery with these things. Where if you really snowball this early on, you won't even believe it. You'll just wake up one day and be like, this is insane. And you're going to look at it and be like, oh, but I have to, when I pull it out, I'm going to have to pay the government. No. Whatever it is yours. All right? But imagine you get to a company that has like a 50% match, right? And you put in $22,500 and then they put in another 10. Just in 1 year, you just added 30 grand to your retirement, an untaxed 30 grand that's going to compound and grow over the next 40 fucking years. All right? Focus on that. Focus on the beauty of the situation. All right? Sometimes you have to have some sacrifices in life for future greatness, okay? And this is not a big one, guys. This is not a big one. I don't recommend doing the full, crazy, full-blown investment. That's what I did. I kind of went hermit mode for quite a few years and kind of put my head down. I didn't take any solo vacations. You know, I'm not a big going out and partying guy. I don't buy a whole lot of shit. I mean, other than like books and like weightlifting stuff and some paintings here and there. But like otherwise, I don't have an interest in any of this materialistic crap. It doesn't matter to me. I'd rather put my money into there because I know deep down at the end of the day, I don't get to take anything with me when I die. So therefore, I'm going to make a fuck ton to leave. If there's even money still needed when I go. When we all go. Who knows? There might just be a solar flash coming. And it might just reset everything. No one knows what's going to happen, right? But it's always good to have more than less and be more prepared instead of caught with your pants down. At least that's my take on finances. Maybe I'm biased, but I've seen a lot of struggling. A lot of young kids not knowing what to do. A lot of them turning to the wrong sources. That's the main reason I want to do this. I'd rather young kids put some of their extra money that they're trying to make a future with into something that is safer, that will actually give them money that's non-taxable over time, and it's not going to be a huge risk. You have no idea. I see so many kids now saying like, oh yeah, I got draft picks or all those other fucking investment apps that are, it's not investment, it's gambling. And they're just gambling. And I understand. I get it. It's social media. You see all these kids that are saying, oh yeah, but I won all this online. They're all capping. They're all lying. They're not happy. A lot of these people are just fake. All right? Just don't fucking listen to them. Don't risk your entire future going in. There's a reason people post their wins, but they don't post their losses. All right? They only care that you think they're winning, because your attention also makes them win. All right? But don't give into it. If you go the gambling route, if you go the penny stock route, that's the route I went. Okay? I never touched gambling, but I went for the penny stocks. And you know why? It's because the risk to reward ratio was insane. And as a young kid, you don't quite understand consequences yet, so you want to hit grand slams. And you're not worried about striking out because you say, well, it's the first inning, I got 9. Well, the 9 goes by pretty fast. It always has. It always has. And it keeps moving. Time keeps moving. You're not stuck with 9 innings, but I'm telling you, if you start just getting some singles early on, they turn into doubles. And they turn into triples. And then without you having to raise a fucking finger, you have a grand slam that happens like this every day. That's the power of smart compound investing. Understanding that I'm sacrificing this current buying power now for the future security it's going to offer me. And as far as books for like the young guys, honestly, this is like a kid's book, but Richest Man in Babylon, incredible. There's this one parable in there. Well, this is a parable. I think that might be religious. Whatever. A little story about saving 10% of everything. Whenever this guy would make any amount of money, he would immediately take 10% off and put it into a different container. Immediately. He didn't even see it as his money. It wasn't his money. It was his future self's money. And he wasn't going to steal it. 10%. 10%. You still have 90. If that's not enough, we gotta talk about budgeting. So that's a great book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This will teach you cash flow. This will teach you assets. This will teach you liabilities. Teach you income and expenses. So your basic balance sheet, income statement, and a cash flow statement. All right? This book is not going to touch anything such as like stockholders' equity or any of the like really advanced accounting stuff or finance stuff. It's not going to touch that. But it's going to give you an understanding that certain things that are viewed as assets in most people's lives really are liabilities. Because if you're paying out money, if your cash is leaving you to cover something, then that is a liability, not an asset. A car is not really an asset. A house is not really an asset if it's not paid off. If you're not making money off of it, how is it an asset? If you can't sell it for a gain, how is it an asset? People are like, oh yeah, but I have a house. That's an asset. I was like, well, you have a massive mortgage, which means you have a debt, which means if you don't pay it, it's not really yours. So I would call that a liability that's sitting on your books, which then you have an expense from every single month, which then you can claim on your taxes to write off a little bit of income with mortgage interest expense. But, it's trying to understand all that. Investments, that is an asset. It makes you money. House, not so much. Car, gives you happiness. Does it make you money? No, costs money. Okay? You can hide that one too. Schedule C, that bad boy. Start a business. Don't want to get too much into avoiding things from the IRS, but financial literacy is just important, guys. I know I've been rambling a bit on this one. I just love this topic, and I would absolutely love it if younger generations would take more of an interest in learning this stuff for themselves, because genuinely speaking, I do not see schools teaching this. I am amazed that there is not an accounting class in high school. They did not have one for me. We had regular econ, we had AP econ, and I think, what was the other one? Consumer ed? That was about it. There's no accounting. There was no finances. You couldn't learn about investing. Hardly. You'd have to learn about it by yourself. You didn't learn about budgeting. You didn't learn about how to do taxes. You didn't learn any of that. They didn't teach you in school. However, you're subjected to it the second you fucking graduate. The second you turn 18, you better pay Uncle Sam. But we're not going to teach you how to pay Uncle Sam. All right? So that's why it's so important. You have to understand, this is the key. It's part of it. It's not the whole thing, but you have to look at what gets people trapped in what their miserable lives are. To some, it's because of their wealth, because of their financial standings. They can't see a way to get out of the rat race. They're like, oh my God, like I'm just gonna keep working, and they take everything. I don't know how to budget or where to put money. That's part of the thing. They don't want to teach people because the elites or the people in power don't want everyone to get out. Okay? You gotta learn this stuff if you want to get out. You have to. It's so easy and so important to learn. Believe me, just because it's numbers does not mean it's hard. That actually makes it easier. Trust me, it is a lot easier to write out a number than it is for me to spell a word. Because a number is literal. It is a fact. Whereas a word is subjective to how my ears may hear it. I may miss a letter. There may be something that's silent. There is nothing that's silent with $1 million. It is $1 million. Okay? So let's focus on learning that as much as we learn everything else. And of course, chase your fucking passions. Always chase your passions. And for the nerds, one last book before I let you guys go. For the nerds here, if there are any of you that love accounting, finance, economics, go and get this book. Warren Buffett and the Interpretation of Income Statements and Balance Sheets. Go get that book. It's a good book. All right. Love you guys. Have fun. Be safe. Do the right thing.